Shalom and welcome to Parsha Wisdom from Yeshivat Chovei Torah. I'm Rabbi Dov Linzer and I'd like to share with you a thought on this week's Parsha. And I'd like to focus particularly on two key words. And those words are Vayagar, to sojourn, and Vayeshev, to dwell. And this actually key words are found at the very beginning of last week's Parsha. Last week's Parsha opens by Avram saying, Ger v'toshav anechi machem. I am a sojourner and a dweller. What is the difference? A ger is somebody who is in the land, but is never settled, is always moving around, has not put down roots in this land. A toshav is a person maybe that came from elsewhere, but is now deeply rooted and settled in the land. And that's why Abraham is saying, I'm a ger and a toshav, and maybe not yet you are willing to sell me a burial plot. Now, how do we understand those ideas religiously? Somebody once said, I think rightly, that people are looking for one of two things, or for two things at the same time in religion. There are some people that are dwellers, and there are other people that are seekers. The seekers are the ones that are looking for truth, looking for meaning, looking for God. They want to find out how the religious messages and teachings actually can play out in their lives and can play out in the larger world. Those are the seekers. The dwellers are not looking for that, not primarily. They're looking for belonging. They're looking for structure. They're looking for tradition. They're looking for community. They're looking to be held. Now the seekers and the dwellers don't always get along or sometimes work at odds because the seekers aren't as interested in the parameters and the boundaries. They're trying to go where their following of God and following of truth takes them. What Avraham was saying is, I am both a seeker and a dweller, a ger and a toshav. I followed God from my parents' land, from where I was born, to find God and to find the land that God had pointed me to. And even there, I hadn't settled down. I moved around to Egypt. I was constantly moving. Fundamentally, I'm a ger. But at the same time, I'm a toshav. If all you are is a ger, then you fly off into the stratosphere. You have no sense of belonging, no rootedness, no community. And I am fundamentally rooted in this land. I am both a ger and a toshav. By Yitzhak, we find the reverse. Because Yitzhak is told by God to stay in the land. You're not going to be a ger. You're going to remain in this land, and you are going to continue in the traditions of Avraham. You're going to build them. You are going to create that structure, that tradition, that community. But at the same time, don't just be a toshav. Don't just be a dweller. God says to Yitzhak, Gur ba'aretz hazot. Stay in this land, but be a ger. Because if all you are is a toshav, then you're complacent. You're totally happy with the way everything is. The only way we could be a toshav is if the world is perfect. But if you realize that even the tradition you inherited, there are ways in which it's not working, or there's ways in which things have gone off from the tracks, and you have to actually work to make them applicable and to make them continue to be relevant to today, then you are both a toshav, fundamentally a toshav, but at the same time with a little disquiet. You're also a ger. And that's why God says, Gur ba'aretz hazot, be in this land, but be a ger. And actually, Yitzhak wasn't fully able to live up to that. Because the next verse says, Vayeshev Yitzhak bigrar. If he's going to stay in this land, he became a toshav. He became complacent. And therefore, the verse continues, Ki archu lo sham hayamim. He was there for many years. He felt like somebody who totally belonged. And he let down his guard. And Avimelech saw him having relations with his wife, Rivka. So you have to be, if you're going to stay, you have to also be a ger. And that's our challenge. Our challenge is to both be a ger and a toshav. Some people, by their natures, will be fundamentally a ger, will be always seeking God, seeking truth, seeking meaning, but they need to be rooted. They need to be a toshav. They need to be part of a community, part of a tradition, rooted in the ground, so they do not go in all places with finding, always searching, and never have a sense of belonging. And there are some people by their nature are going to be a toshav, are going to want fundamentally community, tradition, and belonging. But as long as that's not perfect, which it never will be, you have to remain a ger. You have to work to make things better within those parameters and within those contexts. You have to redig those wells to keep the water flowing. Because from one generation to the next, things are not just going to work on their own. They need our effort in order that we should have those traditions and those structures, but they should remain alive for us today. If we're going to be a toshav, we have to also be a ger. Shabbat shalom.